tonight. This is quite an important event. So, just everybody calm down and just look forward to the evening. We want to thank our guests for coming tonight and giving up their busy time to be here, because I know it's an awful busy time for them right now. They have a lot on their plate. So be mindful of them as when you start asking questions, okay? And our next meeting will be Tuesday, August the 4th at 7 o'clock, which is National Night Out. And you all know what National Night Out is. It's to help support crime in your community. We will have hot dogs and ice cream, and the sheriff will be here to support us and answer questions and all that. And there were some articles on the table over there, and I found this, which was submitted to the Twin City News in 2006. And this is Holley Ferry Crime Watch Group, which observes National Night Out. And Jason Booth, you know Jason Booth?
I heard of it.
He was a sheriff at the time here. And you all know Bobby Jones? They call him Rooster. Okay. He's here, and me and Pat Key are the ones that started this committee. So if you get a chance, read this article, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for supporting Crime Watch, because without Crime Watch, you wouldn't know what's going on in your neighborhood, and the sheriff department is really good to inform you as to what's going on. So we're going to start out tonight, and we're going to let each guest interview himself, and they're going to explain what you're campaigning for, and then you're going to be able to give them, talk to them, and it'll be a question and answer. So you tell them what you're running for and why you need their vote. And then after that, we'll do question and answer, okay? And you want to introduce yourself and start from there?
You want him to give the police report first?
Pardon?
You want our sheriff to give the update on the crime first before we get started in
You
politics?
can in case you have to leave.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
You may come up here, or
I'll
stand
You
up.
can do that, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to see we have a lot of folks out here. So I don't have a whole lot to report on anything major crime-wise happening in the county, in this area especially. But we have our summer starting, so we have made our normal, kind of boat ramp arrests late at night. We have been patrolling them and, catching people down there drinking, smoking marijuana, things like that. So we're getting ready to, up the patrol out this way, because we know what happens in the summertime. With Miss Hazel's people come from Gilbert down to Saluda.
We travel all this way just to support you.
But yeah, we hadn't had anything, but one thing I would reiterate on: if you see something suspicious, call us. We got a dispatch center 24/7. We got deputy coverage 24/7. I got 2 phone calls about 3 hours today after different incidents occurred, because people just, they didn't call it in when they saw it. And I had one that turned out to be nothing. Somebody just called me about when I was walking in. But if you see something suspicious out here, call it in. You're not bothering us. We want to know what's going on. Scams are still something that we're constantly dealing with. I just remind you again that no law enforcement official will ever ask you to pay for any kind of ticket, court date, any kind of tax bill over the phone with any kind of payment, such as a debit card, any kind of other payment card. So we definitely don't give any money over the phone. It happens to more people than you would think it would. I know we got candidates up here for county council and House 39, so I know you really would like to talk to them. But do y'all have any questions, directly for me right now about anything to do with crime in the county? it over. I'm gonna hang out and let these folks have some time to talk. All right? Oh, Bob, you brought up Bobby Jones. Where's that? Where's Bobby?
Is he wearing shorts?
No, he was alive. Yeah.
He was in that group somewhere.
I got to say something. You know, we still we got a Christmas on. Bobby loved Christmas, and he always went and got a Christmas tree for the sheriff's office every year. The year he died, we got a special Christmas tree ornament, and we hang that in the lobby. One for him and one for Dale Holman every year. But Bobby was a good deputy, and he's very missed by all of us. We think about Bobby a lot. And I just, when you bring up Bobby, I just got to say what a great part of the community he was. Just a good man that when you saw him and he smiled and asked you how you were doing, you know, he meant it. So we miss Bobby, and, you know, God rest his soul. He's a good man. And good as steak, too.
Sure, yeah, I wonder if y'all can hear me in the back. Hello, I'm Andrew Johnson, and I want to make sure y'all can hear me in the back. Oh, I can hear myself through the mic now. First, I want to thank all of you for inviting me and the rest of the candidates out to be able to speak with you. It's a real honor, and it's great to have a group of people like this to talk to. And I've got my daughters, Helen and Emma, came with me tonight. I've got a few issues that I tend to come back to, and then what I hear the most from people is they want to hear more about me because I've not been active in politics. I've been active in public service, but I've sort of kept my nose to the grindstone and did my thing. But people generally want to know a little bit more about me, so I thought I would just say a few words about myself. My wife and I, Jeannie and I, moved to Saluda around 2004. We built a little home, and I was on active duty at Fort Jackson. Something I haven't talked a lot about at Fort Jackson, I was an all-Army competitive shooter. I shot the long range, and I shot the pistol combat matches, and was very competitive and really enjoyed that. I also ran the U.S. Army Combative School, and modern Army Combatives is hand-to-hand fighting, so I had the distinct honor and pleasure of running that school for about 18 months. At some point, I got the opportunity to work with Alan Wilson as Assistant Attorney General. So what a great experience that was. Still living in Saluda and driving to Columbia, working as the Assistant AG. And great experience, learned quite a bit. And at some point, I decided I wanted to use my law license to benefit families and children. So I got a chance to represent abused and neglected children in Saluda County. At some point, that expanded out to McCormick and Edgefield, and I did a little work in Aiken. And at some point, they asked me to float to Richland and Lexington. So I was based out of Saluda, had an office there, and that's the best work of my life, folks. I love that work. Wouldn't trade it for anything, but I didn't get well known, because I was in the family courts and dealing with some very difficult situations with child abuse and neglect. And I did that, and I've done that until May 6th of this year, so 12 years of dealing with that. Now, that's not to take away from others' public service. And I have a lot of respect for everyone else that's been involved in public service right here directly for Saluda County for about the same period of time or longer. So we still live on Mount Wheeling Road. I have a little farm. We have beef cows. And I'm still learning all that stuff. I guess you never stop learning, but I'm also learning how, what it would be like to be a good chairman for Saluda County Council, which is what I'm asking for your vote for. And I think that there's a lot to learn, steep learning curve. I'm doing my best, and I think we've run a pretty good race so far. I'll get back to those three issues I mentioned a second ago. I focused on preserving our agricultural heritage. It's really important to me. It's really important to a lot of folks that I talk to. Fiscal responsibility, just making sound financial decisions, maybe thinking twice before spending money. the same approach toward borrowing money that we're gonna have to repay. And transparency in government, which means keeping people informed, being open to questions, answering the hard questions, and talking to people who may be upset with a decision that council's made or that I have. I think that's our duty to remain open and open to dialogue and to educate the public and to hear from everyone and then make decisions. So that's a little about me, and those are some things that I think are important. And I think next I'll sit down and be followed by Katie.
We're gonna do
Questions? Okay.
We have questions for this candidate? Do you have anybody in the audience who have a question for this candidate? Okay, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Katie Hall, and I am running for the District 39 for South Carolina. Tonight, it's very rare that I have more than my husband with me, so you guys must be extremely special, because not only do I have my husband with me tonight, but I have my wonderful daughter-in-law, and the one that nobody ever sees, and it's our 4-year-old grandson. You talk about Bobby Jones. Bobby and I were very good friends. I used to live right down the street. And Bobby always knew that my house was a safe haven for all of my blue and firefighters. But Bobby used to pull up on the dock, and he would ask my husband, okay, what you got on the grill? I want some. Or it would be, Katie, I got to use your facilities. I'm gone. And he knew exactly where everything was. And I miss that tremendously. But here's what you're going to find for me. A vote for me is a vote for your voice. I will bring all delegation meetings back here, back home. Not only will they be here, but they will also be live streamed. So that way there is nothing but transparency. You guys are working. You can't be there. I know being in Columbia at 10:30 in the morning when I don't work there is a little difficult to get to. There's something different about me also. Because this seat, it doesn't belong to me. It never will. Because it belongs to you. It's your voice. It's your concerns. It's what you need. It's what you want. And it's what you don't want. And once a month, I will be at every council building. So that way, if you need a one-on-one with me or would like to, shoot, you want to come fuss at me, you can do that right there. You don't have to go anywhere. You come to me. I'm an open book. I'll let you know whatever it is that you need to know. But my focuses are probate court. Here's the thing. Everybody hears about Alex Murdaugh and his financial crimes. Everybody, how in the world did he do that? He did it through probate court. That is how he did that. We need to close all of those loopholes. We hear about family court. Do you guys realize in the state of South Carolina, if the mother and the father are not legally married, even though one parent or another is on the birth certificate, they do not have rights to that child? None whatsoever. Small farms. Most everybody hears me talk about small farms. It's because that's where my heart is. I love my farmers. But do you realize that they're battling 87,000 South Carolina regulations just to keep those little farms going? The big farms, they're extremely fortunate and blessed. And we're blessed to have them. but they have the ability to have somebody there doing that paperwork and paying those fees. Small farm can't do that. How in the world are they supposed to keep going when they're the ones filling all the paperwork out? We'll just use tomatoes because that's what I've got the can here saying. They're planting the seeds, they're watering them, and then they're picking them. And who's going to fill out the paperwork? Who is going to pay those fines? And I also want to stop the revolving door on bond court. I just told you that I have a soft spot for our police. I can only imagine their frustration when they arrest someone for something. They take them to jail, they do what they're supposed to do. And before the ink is even dry on those reports, 9 times out of 10, they're on the street again. I don't say this willy-nilly. I say this because I look at different cases, one of which has been in the news a lot, not only state, but federal, and that's Logan. And her life was taken just outside of 5 Points a year ago. The gentleman who took her life was out on bond 46 times, I believe. Bond, 46 times. 26 of those were felony charges. But he was still out walking the street. When are we going to stop the crazy? I am here to speak with you. I will answer any question that you have. There's only 2 questions that I won't answer. And if I told you what they were, you'd understand. I won't give you my social security number, and I will not tell you what my bank account number is. But I am asking for your vote, June the 9th. Thank you very much. What
You
question?
have questions for Katie? Questions for this candidate? Any questions?
I'll ask you a question. And only because when I was listening to Mr. Johnson, he was explaining how he has some experience with courts and things like that. And I know you're local, and I love that. What relationships have you built within this type of, job or position that you're running for that would help you do that? Make those changes you want to make for us?
Well, when it comes to family court, I've been there and done that. Also, I worked with children with extreme special needs. And I dealt with a lot of child abuse cases and seeing that there. I also have some really good friends who are attorneys. And some that are judges. So I don't make these statements just out of the clear blue. I make them because I've talked to the people who deal with them day in and day out. I know how to build a bill. I've done it for Saluda County. As a matter of fact, Josh can attest to this. I've built the ordinance and helped get it passed for us to be a sanctuary county for our firearms.
Good evening. It's good to be here again. I've been here several times, and y'all know me, but I'm going to say formally, I'm Jim Moore, and I'm running to be re-elected as your Saluda County Council Chairman. I've been chairman for the past 4 years. I think I've done a good job. We've had some difficult times, and we've gone through it. You mentioned experience. When I first moved here, and I see my realtor back there, hey. When I first moved here in 1996, I used to live down on Saluda Waters Point. And so I kind of feel like I come home here. But I moved here to teach school. I taught Navy Junior ROTC at Saluda High School for 17 years. After that, I was on the school board for 7 years. And then Jerry Strawbridge and Marvin Goody approached me about running for county council chairman. Jerry told me, don't worry, this is in January of 22, and he said, don't worry, you have till November, and I'll teach you everything you need to know. Well, as you know, Jerry passed away in February of 22. So I had to learn on my own. And like Andrew mentioned, it is a steep learning curve. I knew nothing about county government when I took the job, when I told them I would run. I spent that time from March until June of 22 attending every council meeting I could, attending every budget meeting, trying to figure out what it is I was supposed to do. And I learned. I learned more things than I ever thought I would know. I've learned about millage. I've learned about trash. I've learned about construction. All these kind of things that go along with being the council chairman. And there's a lot of stuff. Other things that I did, I was a deacon, Sunday school teacher at Saluda Baptist Church. I'm on the board of for Piedmont Tech, the Piedmont Tech Foundation. I'm on the board of directors for that. Speaking of Piedmont Tech, you know that we're adding on to that campus. And that's really a really good thing, because now we'll be teaching our young people a trade, a business, a job that they can do here, and hopefully businesses will see that and will come. Recently, I was elected as the commander of American Legion Post 65. So I've got experience. I know how to do the job. I know already. I've been doing it. And I would like to keep doing it. And that's why I'm here to ask for your votes. Now, here's the hard part. Are there any questions?
Taking my job away from me.
You can stand up and ask.
Last time he was reading my notes, so it's okay.
Was I reading your notes? I did last time.
Do we have any questions for this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
Jim, I have one of the favorite questions. They passed the boat tax,
Yes, ma'am.
which delighted half of Saluda, but Saluda County is taking a huge, huge hit
Yes, ma'am.
as far as taxes goes.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plan to fill that void?
Well, fortunately, and we talk about that the boat tax has been passed, and it's like it's gonna boom next year when it takes effect. It's the full force of that, a full cut of 50% of the boat taxes. That's not true. It's phased in over 3 years. All right, so we're taking a hit, but not a huge hit, not a insurmountable hit. So where do we find the money to make up for that? We have to look at our departments. We have to look to see if we can't work smarter, more efficiently. It's nothing I'm looking forward to. It was no fun dealing with they hate for me to call it the chicken house bill, but that's what it was when the agricultural buildings were exempt, but we did. We're working our way through that. Fortunately, we have really good people working for Saluda County. We got really good department heads. You've elected some of those department heads, the coroner, the sheriff, the clerk of court, the auditor. All of these are Saluda County department heads that submit their budget and work through the budget process. All of them know that we're facing a shortfall in revenue. And they're good folks. Sheriff works hard on his budget, I guarantee you that. He doesn't put anything in there he doesn't need. So, we're lucky to have those people working for Saluda County. It makes my job, it makes council's job, and that's another thing. You know, I don't work alone. Sometimes I like to kid my wife and tell her I'm the king of the county. And what really gets her is when I say, well, you have to look at yourself as the first lady. If y'all know Mary, she hates me for saying that. I'm going to hear about it all the way home. But I don't work alone. You got people like Ricky just running for council. It's 4 council members that sit there with me that make these decisions, that look at this stuff. And we got good people on council. We got people that work hard. So, anyway, I could go on and on and on. I mean, I like to talk. You know that from being here before.
I know, but we gotta give them a chance.
Well, I know that your favorite son is next. I know that. Oh, you're impartial.
No, I can't go there, that's fine.
I know that. I know better.
That's my second wife.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to speak with you. Most of you know me. For the ones that don't, my name is Ricky Bailey, and I was raised here, married my wife. We raised our children here, and I've always wanted to be in politics, get involved a little bit, not become a career politician, but I've always had an urge to do something. And I made a promise to my wife when we got married that I wouldn't be a career politician and that I wouldn't get involved in politics until our children were out of school. So our third youngin', our last youngin', is still at home, but he's working and he's out of school. So we had a couple phone calls this year asking me to run. And I looked at the wife and I said, these are the phone calls I'm getting. So she finally caved in and agreed to let me do it. So I asked her, I said, I've never had Facebook. And I said, well, can I use your Facebook page? And she said, absolutely not. Get you on. So with that being said, I'm not going to stand here and make a bunch of political promises because you've all heard those before. What I will tell you I will do, and I've already started working on it, not taking anything for granted, because if I'm not the one that gets elected in, the gentleman that's running against me, I will help him. But this district 3 that I would be representing runs from behind the Inmark store, up around the lake, up to 378 to the traffic circle, goes around the traffic circle, catches 378 to Saluda, up to a little bit above Mount Wheeling Road, and I can never remember what that next intersection is, but up that far, it cuts back over to Batesburg Highway, back over to Highway 39. It catches the golf course at the Ponderosa, and then turns and catches the golf course in Saluda for San Diego. So this area is pretty big, and I wanted to at least guarantee you I would come out once a quarter and meet with you. I want to bring the council to you instead of you having to come to the council meetings, because I know it's kind of hard to get there. You can tune in, it's on, we live stream it, you can go back and watch it. But if you've never been, I urge you to go. Here at church, I'm the church council chair, and a lot of people, we encourage them to come to council to hear the ongoings of the church. And we went through the split here, and there were some folks that didn't agree with what the majority did, and we had a meeting and we were asking, what were some of the reasons why you didn't want to go? And one of the big questions was about the cemetery. Well, the very first meeting we had, our disaffiliation, we had the district superintendent come out, and the very first question asked was the cemetery. So that told me that those folks didn't go to the meeting, or they got secondhand information. So I urge you to participate and come to the council meeting, but if you can't make there, once a quarter we will be here. Hopefully, whichever chairman is elected, they will come. I will be here whether they come with me or not to hear what you have to say, because God gives us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's do twice to listen as you do talking. Jim likes to talk. I like to listen. Andrew, you like to listen. Andrew likes to listen. So we will be good. I want to remind you that being elected, I'm 1 vote. There's 5. There'll be 5 of us serving on council, and I'll be 1 vote. And it's kind of hard. You're saying I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. If the two other people don't agree with you, you're not going to get anything done. Some of the issues that I've seen that's kind of bothering me a little bit, that kind of got me into this, was some of the spending, some of the requests not the departments, but certain things they want to spend money for. And I'm putting a business standpoint on it, because if we can build something now that will serve a purpose 10 years down the road, and it's going to cost us less money than what you want to build something for now to serve for now, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to build it for the future and spend less money. And that's what really got me involved. But a couple things that we're facing is shortfall of employee pay. And everybody hears that the sheriff, it's hard for him to keep police officers in Saluda County with the pay that he's paying. But it's not just his department, because if you would have watched the budget workshop the other night, we're having some issues in county maintenance. They are looking for another mechanic, and our current mechanic's at one level of pay level, and they're asking to go up 2 or 3 positions to try to get new people. Well, it's not right for the guy that's been working all this time to be making less than a new guy coming in. So we have some issues with that. How many of you like being told what to do with your property? Nobody. But when growth comes, nobody wants it in their backyard, but everybody wants growth. So we need to work on planning and zoning. That's something that's real big. And people say, well, how are you going to do that? I don't know. That's a good question, because there's got to be a way that we do implement planning and zoning, that there's got to be a way where you can come and appeal the decision, because one shoe doesn't fit everybody. That was a big issue. And then as far as our growth goes, we have been trying for years to bring industry into Saluda. And if you look around, let's face it, we are a bedroom community. Besides our farmers and Lake Murray being tourism, we're a bedroom community. Most people live here and work elsewhere. So I feel like the more rooftops that we get, which that's why we need planning and zoning to control where it goes and how much comes in, but the more rooftops that we get, the more businesses that come to town. And the more businesses come to town, hopefully we'll bring industry to town. And that's just one vision. But if you don't agree with that, that's fine. We can talk about it. I got asked one question the other night, that if the majority of the people that's in my district calls me up and said, we don't want you to vote this way, we don't agree with this, how will you vote? I'm going to go with what the majority says, but I want you to be able to tell me why you don't want me to vote that way. I'm not going to be stubborn and say, no, this is right. If you can tell me why we don't need to do that and it's legitimate, I'm going to listen. So that's pretty much all I have right now. Are there any you want to ask? Are there any questions?
Somebody's got to have some questions after all that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So, I believe you were a small business owner as well?
I still am,
You
yes.
still are?
I still am.
I appreciate that. Similar to sort of the question that I asked Ms. Katie, I believe, I know it's going to be a learning curve like Jim mentioned. Is there already things that you've researched, done, that are going to help you? I know you've mentioned you've already done a lot of research, it sounds like, in the zoning and things like that, but...
So the question comes down to, we got X number of dollars coming in. Same thing here at church. You have X dollars coming in. You have a budget of what you're going to spend out. All right? I believe, and I don't want to stir the pot enough, but after the workshop the other night, we realized that we're in more of a deficit than what we really thought we were if you look across the board. And the only way to help that is to get more people coming into the county with houses, paying taxes, or raise taxes. And I hate to be the one that says we have to do that. But how many of you like your sheriff's department? How many of you like having your deputies? How many of you like having EMS up the street? I mean, in order, Jim, and Dr. Steele, your thunder the other night, you said on a $150,000 house, if we were to go up, was it 2 mil or 3 mil?
Well, I said a couple scenarios, but it was 3.
3 mils, and it was the average of a $150,000 home, your taxes would go up $20. Not worried about that for most part. Somebody who has a $300,000 house, that's not going to be that bad, but we worry about the folks that are on fixed income. That's where it hurts. I believe there are some programs that are assistance programs. You can get assistance to help with that. That's something that we need to look at and see if we can start something to try to help offset that cost. And I told Jim, I said, why don't y'all go ahead and pass it before I get elected, so that way I don't get accused of raising taxes the first year I go in, or help raise taxes the first year I go in. But you have to face reality. I mean, we want all these nice things. Somebody has to pay for it.
Don't move to Gilbert.
Well, everybody says Saluda's worse than Gilbert, but
Oh, God, it's all cracker boxes over there.
well, see, that's why you got to have planning and zoning to keep that from happening.
So when is the meetings that you're talking about?
So right now the council meets every month. But if I get elected, I'm gonna come out to the county, since this district is so vast, I wanna have 3 points within our district to meet. And I'll come out once a quarter to meet with you and bring the chairman with me, whichever one gets elected, and if I get elected. And like this right here, we either come here to church, I've asked about the fire department, they said that was fine, we could use the fire department at the circle. A big issue that we have is over here behind the Inmark. I don't know if any of y'all live over that way, but I've always been told that there's only 8 houses. There's 67 houses over there. Their fire service, their insurance is terrible. And there's a fire department right here in Lexington County. I want to try to work with Lexington and see if we can do something to help offset that, to help those people. Because if we get their ISO rating down, and there's, on the capital project sales tax that we really want to talk about next time, there's building 2 fire departments. Well, a fire department and then a substation in the Fruit Hill and Duncan area of the county. Well, somebody said, well, how's that going to help everybody? Well, if you get their ISO rating down, then across the county, all the way across the county's got potential to come down. So right now, most of us here are a 5. So your insurance, it definitely tells. But those people are 7s and 8s. So imagine what their insurance is. So you got to do things that benefit the most, and not everybody gets benefited every time. And we're sorry. I mean, there's no master plan, no crystal ball to do this, and it's a learning curve sometimes. And you make bad mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes that you make.
And you're a businessman too, so.
Yes, I'm a businessman. I know what it is to make payroll, the budget. I'm lucky to have my wife. She works hand in hand with me. I couldn't do it without her. Her name is Missy Bailey, by the way. I don't want to not call her name. The first meeting I didn't introduce her. I felt so bad. So then at the next meeting I had, they kept asking, "What's your wife's name?" So yeah. But she we do it. We're a team, and it takes a team to do stuff.
Thank you, Rick.
Any more questions?
What does it take to get this road paved?
Because the original thing was supposedly they raised the tax on gas.
Right.
And said that's where the roads.
So I'm gonna pass the
But
buck on
South
that.
Carolina sucks on their roads. I mean, it's awful.
It does. We actually just had family here from South Dakota, and years ago when they come down, they used to talk about how great our roads are. And my brother-in-law just left town, and he's like, "Man, these roads are crap." I'm like,
They are.
Yeah. So that being the state road, we got to figure out how to get on the list to get that road paved. But how many of you noticed that the caution lights at the stop sign?
Yeah.
So one of the meetings that we had here, it was brought up, and Cal Forrest was here, and Cal actually made a phone call about it, and within a couple of weeks there was something done. And Cal, I don't mean to steal your thunder. So anyway, I called him and I said, "Man, how did you get this done so fast?" He said, "Well, let me tell you." He said there happened to be a wreck. The 2 guys at the highway department that makes these decisions were happened to come through when the wreck happened. It was already on their mind. So when I called them, they said, "Sure, we can do something." I said, "Well, please give them the ride down Holley Ferry Road,
Yeah,
and then call them and ask them to pave it."
Yeah.
So we're going to work on that. Any more questions? Thank you.
Okay. I have to add something to that you just said about the roads. If you have a complaint with the highway department, I had 2 complaints, and I live in Gilbert, okay? We had construction signs, road work on the road that I live on. And it's a busy road, 40 miles an hour. And these road work said road work, big sign, 3 houses down, and one at the end of the road, Highway 1. And I kept seeing these signs. 1 year, these signs were there, no road work. I finally called the highway department, and I said, "How long do you need the signs to be up before you take them down?" And she says, "And what are you referring to?" So I gave her the address and everything. Well, let me tell you, 2 weeks later, those signs were down. 378, leaving here going 378, across from the 2 gas stations there on the left before Beulah Church. There was a hole this big. You had to go around in the other lane to get to keep from missing another car. I called and complained about that. Well, in 1 week, that hole was filled up because of the trucks making a quick U-turn. So if you have a complaint, don't wait for your neighbor to call it in. You call it in, and I can give you the number because it's right in the phone book. But I'm saying, don't wait, do it. So, Cal?
No, Hazel, on that note too, I was gonna also say that I contacted the, Saluda County representative for the DOT, and they had a no littering sign, not that anybody pays attention to it, but they had a no littering sign down on Holley Ferry within, I'd say, 10 days.
Yeah. But if you
I
don't
requested-
complain, if
Yeah.
you don't complain, let these people know you're not gonna get anything done, okay? Cal?
I wasn't talking about the road, but that seems like to be a good subject. You must have missed the last meeting. Were you here last time I was here? Were you? I thought we talked extensively about the roads, but I must not have talked about them enough.
Well, we call and complain, and that what we get is, well, Holley Ferry stayed, and then 2 weeks ago, they paved a road off of Holley Ferry, and we called and asked about that. Well, that's county. Okay, so, I don't know. And then you call, and the lady on the receiving end, she finally gets tired of all the phone calls, because we had a crater down here, and everybody was calling, and everybody's coming back going, well, we're calling. Oh, well, she blessed us out and told us don't call back no more. You know, and it's to that point. We are calling and voicing our opinion. You know, your car, you can't take it to the shop because it hurts our pocket, because it keeps getting knocked out of line. We're busting tires, you know, and we're paying mega bucks for taxes around here. A lot less than some counties, but more than others, but we feel like we're not getting heard on it. You know, you have people, we're at the lake, you have people coming in from Aiken County and, you know, all the fishing tournaments, all these other people too, who don't pay taxes here. This is a very busy road. It needs to be paved. I mean, it really does because of that.
You did not say one thing that I disagree with.
Yeah.
You are very right. I don't have a rebuttal with that. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
and, you know, and I'm gonna touch on the roads briefly for just a second, but, we have two major funds in South Carolina, two pots of money, so to speak. We have the general fund, all your tax money goes to, and fees of other sort, and we have what you would call the DOT fund. And, you know, going back to the tax, the General Assembly raised the road fuel use tax, the tax that you pay at the pump. It was raised in 2017. Before that, when would you think it was raised? Take a wild guess.
1985.
You were close, 1987, 3 decades.
Yeah.
Now, if you go from 1987 to, let's just go to 2026 where we're at now, we had roughly 2.7 million people living in the state of South Carolina in 1987. Fast forward to today, 5.6 million people. That's a lot of cars. At that same time, our ports have greatly expanded. Michelin has greatly expanded. BMW, Boeing, Volvo, many other manufacturing facilities across the state of South Carolina. Our ports have greatly expanded. There is a lot more, not only commercial traffic on every road around the state of South Carolina, but there are a lot more of the citizens or the people visiting the state of South Carolina. So, and when I was telling you about the two pots of money, every time the General Assembly, when they vote, just say a simple cost of living pay increase to all state employees, whether it be 2% or 4%, well, that's 30 years when they did not raise the road fuel use tax, but every single year, almost without fail, there was a cost of living increase for every state employee, which deservedly so. I'm not arguing against it. Well, every state employee except DOT employees get paid out of the general fund. Every DOT employee, including their salary, insurance, any other RRT insurance, the benefits, the retirement, all of that comes out of that DOT fund that you and I pay at the gas pump every single day. That fund got neglected for 30 years, 3 solid decades. And at that time, I told you how much the growth was. So when we constantly increase pay increases, which I'm not arguing against it, but the pot of money that the state of South Carolina had to draw from was greatly diminished. So that's how you get behind the 8 ball, and that's why I hear it all the time about the roads, and I completely understand it. I mean, some of these roads are abysmal. Holley Ferry is no picnic, and there are a bunch of others I could point you around the county that I've seen recently they are. But anyway, that being said, I just want to give you a little bit of understanding why we got so far behind. And
Well, are we leasing out? I mean, are these people who are employed by DOT that's coming down through here and dumping this stuff in it? They don't pack it, they don't melt it, it's like granular. They fill a hole in and move on, so the car behind them comes through, and as soon as they hit it, it gushes out. So by the time they turn around and come back, that hole's already, half of it's knocked out.
and you're right, plus it's getting hotter, and we're about to see a lot of traffic with boats and trailers, and boats and trucks coming down this road, and it's gonna get pounded out again. And unfortunately, that's where we're at, and I know we've got more road construction going on across the state of South Carolina than any other time in recent history.
Yeah.
And I know you hear me saying that, but we live right here where we live at, and it's hard to see that because we don't travel every corner of the state all the time. There is plenty of work going on. It's just not on the timeline that we like it. We live in what I like to call a microwave world or Amazon world. We want it right here, right now.
Yeah.
And neglecting it for 30 years, we're not going to fix it as fast as it fell apart. I mean, when we passed the road fuel use tax was increased, people were saying, well, they should increase it. It was 2 cents per year for 6 years. I said, well, do the whole thing, just do it for all 12 cents. Let's get it done. We want these roads fixed. There was such a lack of spending in this state by the DOT because of lack of funding. All major construction companies that have the ability to resurface our major roads in a timely fashion, they did not even have a presence in South Carolina. So if the state would have taken all that money at one time, they would have sitting on billions and billions of dollars, and you would still have nothing to show for it because we didn't have anybody to perform the work. So, incrementally, that's why it's taking so long. It's just a very painful process, and you're not the only one that feels like that. And I'm like that. I'm like that the same way. But anyway, that's my road piece for tonight. But y'all go ahead.
We're new to the area, but there's a sign that supposedly shows the people which road to go down to go to the lake. Well, they have it placed closer to where people live than where the actual road is that they should be taking. So they go down our road fast with their, who knows what kind of boat on the back of it. It makes a big mess and it's dangerous. We have a family with little children living at where they're all turning to go in and come out. It's ridiculous.
Well, you're in look. I have a good relationship with the sign guy in Saluda County, and if you get with me after the meeting, I'll get your phone number and I'll get the address, the location, and we'll talk to him, and I'm sure he can probably make something happen.
Thank you.
All right. Any more road questions, or should we move on? I feel like I was just here. Well, I guess I was here a couple months ago. I don't exactly remember what I talked about, but I felt like we go over a couple of things that we've done in the General Assembly in the past, or this year. Anybody here like to eat beef or chicken or pork? Everybody just about? Do y'all like to eat real beef, chicken, or pork, or do y'all like to eat fake meat? Raise your hand if you like fake meat. Okay, I'll buy that. So we passed a bill banning the sale of fake meat in South Carolina, or if you want to call it lab-grown meat. And I'll back up on maybe a couple of years ago, our first bite of the apple, when this fake meat, lab-grown poultry meat started getting popular, we passed a bill in the House just for the truth of the fact, truth in labor, just so people know what they're buying. And they're not getting food and thinking they're buying a cow that came out of a pasture in Saluda County. And there was a little old lobbyist that flew in from somewhere halfway across the country, and they were telling us why that's such a bad thing. This is real meat. They don't want to pass it. Well, we passed it anyway, of course. Come to find out, they were working for a company, and they had a big lab based in Tennessee, I believe it was. I'll give y'all one good guess. Who do you think owned that lab for fake meats? Gates. Who said Gates? Yep, Bill Gates. That's the one. And that's one of the guys that buys up all your farmland around the country. And, there's always, it's hard to be a conspiracy. Sometimes conspiracies are very true, but when they're buying up all this farmland and they're trying to control our food supply by selling us lab-grown meat, something's not clean in the middle there, doesn't sit very right with me, because I like to know what's in my meat. I don't want to know what's growing in the pan somewhere. So that was a kind of interesting thing that we did. And kind of on that same line, we banned the sale of all lands in South Carolina to any United States adversaries. Anybody on that list, China being one of them. To keep them from swallowing up our farmland, whether it be a data center or army installation or military base, what have you. But just China would not let any South Carolinian or American go into their country to buy our land, so we banned it in South Carolina. I wish every state would do that. But we've got to kind of get back to our roots. Anyway, we got the meats, we got the land. What else? We did a lot of bills against protecting our kids this year. What was this? It's got some kind of stop harm with addictive social media, Shazam, I believe they got all these addictive features. And these internet companies, they're way smarter than we give them credit for. They monitor us. They know within reason, within a year or two, maybe how old you are. And they know that they have kids on their platforms, and they intentionally put things on those platforms, on their social media platforms, to make people and adults too. It's for the kids, but it's adults too. But to continuously scroll or put something that it's a number of addictive features that they put on there. But anyway, so we passed a bill against that. It's to limit the number of times that a kid can have access to a device daily. Just anything we can do to short the kids. The bond reform, which was something that was passed last year. I watched a thing put out by Jody Barr. I don't know if y'all used to be a reporter in the Midlands here several years ago. He put out a big expose about the Attorney General's office. And he did a deep dive. He's been working on this thing for over, a year and a half, 2 years. And he's compiled a list of over 5,300 sex offenders and crimes against children, to be specific. And out of those 5,000 something, they've only convicted 700 and something, and less than 10% of that 700 and something is actually sent to jail time. Most of them have plea deals. Without any jail time, they might get probation, they might not. So keep in mind when you go vote for your next Attorney General, I would do your homework and do your research about, and be careful about who you vote for on that. And speaking of voting, we've got coming up on this coming Tuesday when you vote. You're going to see 2 advisory questions on the bottom of your sample. On the bottom of your ballot, and I want to just give you, take a chance and just explain this to you a little bit. Question number 1 says, should people have the right to register with the political party of their choice when they register to vote? In South Carolina, we do not register as Republicans or Democrats. We just register to vote. And what has a tendency, it's happened some here in South Carolina, let's just say you have a purplish district. It might go either way. It could be, any party could do this, but let's just say we had 1 Democrat that's going to be on the ballot, and you had 2 Republicans. So there was no Democratic primary. What happens is maybe the Democrats will come to the Republican primary. They will pick what they perceive as the weakest candidate. They will vote for the weakest candidate to send that candidate to the general election. And that way, their opponent can take on what they perceive as the weakest candidate, and all of a sudden they flip that seat from red to blue. And it does happen, and it can happen, so that's something we have to be aware of. So vote with your heart on that, however you feel. I think there's some logistics involved, and maybe some constitutionalities, because let's just say the district you were living in did not have a Democratic primary. They only had a Republican primary that you were voting on a particular year. I think the legality would come in, since the state burdens and bears a lot of the cost of the election. Can we have a taxpayer-funded election and say, no, this guy or gal cannot vote in because they're registered as a Republican or Democrat? So anyway, there's some stuff that we've got to clean up on that, but that's something coming that we all need to think about very carefully, how we want to go proceed in the future with our elections. This next one, it said, should candidates for local school boards be able to run as a candidate of the political party of their choice, just like candidates for other elected offices? So, in the state of South Carolina, we have, I think it's 87 school districts. And I believe 2 of them are probably partisan boards. The rest of them are nonpartisan, just not up anyway. Not Republican, not Democrat. So I could go either way on this question, but I kind of give you my thoughts and feelings on how I came to my conclusion. So in Lexington 3, there was a guy I know, he's about a year younger than me. He served 2 terms on the Lexington 3 school board. Now, all going through school, Lexington 3, if you don't know, is Batesburg, Leesville. Of course, he knew people from all walks of life, Republican, Democrat, and if he had to sign up this is a conservative dude, if he had to sign up as a Republican or a Democrat, he was going to sign up as a Republican. Now, would he still win that seat if he was a Republican? I don't know. But, so, in that case, which might be the exception to the rule, it just depends on the candidate and the area. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. But, look, my other reaction to this, the way we should approach it, we know as a whole the Democratic Party, not only in South Carolina, but in the United States of America, is leaning way, way left, very liberal. Does not line up with the ideals that I think all of us have in this room, or pretty much all of us. The Republican Party is a lot more conservative. So if you're electing a member to your school board, to your local school board, if they are signing up as a Republican or Democrat, you know what kind of leadership that you're putting in place to educate your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and everybody else's children. So I think at the end of the day, with the way the party structure is and the way the ideas that are pushed down from us from a federal level on down, I would probably err on the side of saying, yes, we need to sign up as Republican or Democrat just for that. Because I like to know who's in there teaching my nieces and my friends' kids and everybody else that's going to be our tomorrow's leaders. So anyway, with that, I can talk about some other stuff, or I can take some questions. Either way.
Take some questions.
I'll take some questions.
Judicial reform, now, who is responsible for that? Would that be a legislative thing to do, the way our judges are chosen?
Yes, ma'am. Very much so, and that's high on everybody's list. The way we have had some reform in the past this year, or maybe as that last year not taking place this year, where it used to be on the joint Judicial Merit Selection Committee. They would only put 3 candidates forward. So you can think about it as from, let's just say we have six people that are qualified or well qualified to be judges and sit on the bench. This is kind of where it gets to the fox guarding the hen house. You've got this commission. Well, maybe they put 3 people that are qualified, but maybe they don't put the best qualified. Maybe they put one of them that is really qualified and it's kind of their pick, and they might put 2 of them that are qualified, but they know they're kind of good candidates. So they're going to put the 3 forward. The fix to kind of be in a way, if you follow me. We have it now where they have to, if they're qualified, they put them forth. I think there's a lot of arguments to be made why the judges should not be picked by the General Assembly. At the end of the day, if you're a judge and you're coming up for re-election, and you know that you've got a lawyer legislator trying a case in front of you, without even meaning to do it, you're going to probably, if it's a defense case, a criminal case, they're going to probably give that lawyer legislator's client maybe a minimum sentence or a very little sentence, because guess what? They need that lawyer legislator to vote for them coming up next year or 2 years from now, whatever the case may be. So I think Pamela Evans has got a good idea. Let the governor, whoever our city governor is, nominate the judges with advice and consent. We still have to vote on the judge, and as long as they're qualified and they pass the smell test, that's good. But I think we need a judge to be ultimately responsible for picking, our governor to be ultimately responsible for picking our judges.
Like the federal judges?
Like the federal judges.
Is
About it?
there any more questions? Is there any more questions for any of these candidates? If there's no more questions want to thank everyone for coming tonight. There's refreshments on the table out there. I'm not taking them home, so whatever you do with them. But anyway, there's a sign-up sheet.
For the latecomers.
Huh?
Was there a handout for the latecomers? I see people holding papers.
There's all kinds of information on the table over there. There's a sign-up sheet.
Hazel, there was some sample ballots for the Holley precinct, so if you want to see what your sample ballot looks like, and if it's not up there, I can make some copies for you if you want one.
I think they're basically, I think most of them are gone. Pat, is there any sample ballots over there?
Okay, I'll get you some, mate.
Okay. And there's a sign-up sheet for you to sign up if you want to be emailed.